Okay, guys, so we are back for another episode of Black Exploration with Nia. Hi, I want to welcome you guys all back to the platform. Thank you for joining us again for another episode. This podcast is all about authenticity, so we want to have you a part of the conversation. So please comment, DM us with any questions, or if you want to be a part of the podcast, please reach out to us. We want to get to know you on an intimate level as well. So, in this podcast, I have my two amazing people, yay, that I love having conversation with. We have Stevie back. I was getting ahead of my thoughts. Hey, Stevie, welcome back. I love Stevie's ability to have amazing conversations, and so I asked her to be a reoccurring guest back on the show. So, yay, Stevie, welcome back. We love you so much.
Thank you very much.
Then we have my boy Justin, who comes behind the camera just to grace us with his amazing energy. So, hey, Justin,
Yo.
welcome to the front, not the
Thank
back. So, we are going to talk about in this episode physical and mental health. So, you know that we have four key areas of holistic healing that we cover on this podcast. For those who are new, we cover financial freedom, spirituality, physical and mental health, and intimacy. So, on this episode, we are going to talk about energy and why it's so important to check your energy and the energy you have around you. So, when it comes to the topic of energy, I think this is such a nuanced topic that has like everybody's throwing like energy around, right? Because we're in this space where people are starting to see past the physical and really focus on the spiritual. So, in this episode, I really want to talk about what's good energy, what type of energy that you like to hang around, what type of energy do you feel you want to see more of, and what type of energy do you feel like you embody. So I'll start first, and I feel like this topic is necessary because before I started my healing journey, I think I had mixed energy like a mofo. And I think I used to get off a lot of mixed energetic signs because I had no sense of who I was as a person. And I couldn't channel in my own identity because of it, because I was pulled in so many directions. And I was a situational person. So part of my adaptabilities is code switching. And so I would adapt to certain situations and circumstances based off, you know, who the crowd was or who the person was who I was talking to. And I left people questioning me, like my integrity as a person. And left me questioning myself. And honestly, it left me not trusting myself. Like I spent like maybe the first 3 years of my healing journey trusting myself, like learning how to trust myself again, because I had gone against my own natural spiritual nature for so long that my own self didn't trust my actions. And so I had a lot of disassociative behavior behind that. So I want to start with you, Justin, this time. What do you feel about energy, and what has been your personal experience with it?
I think it's like I think it's undervalued for one, and I also think that energy is louder than your voice could ever be, if that makes sense. And personally, for myself, coming from Oakland and kind of growing up with this chip on my shoulder, it forced me to, for example, I would walk down the street with a blank look on my face, you know, kind of like a stern mug almost. You know what I mean? Now I'm completely different. I'm giving off a different vibe when I step into a room. I'm giving off a more welcoming, approachable energy, and I think that shit changed my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It made people again want to speak to me. Me being, you know, an ex-athlete, kind of tall or whatever. It intimidated people to the point where it was like it's closing doors before I even get a chance to see those doors are there. If that makes sense. So yeah, I just think energy is everything, man. And when it comes to any type of relationship, whether it's platonic, whether it's romantic, if that's what makes it easy for me not to date. When I'm having a conversation with someone and it just something doesn't feel right, I kind of nip it in the bud right there, and I'm okay with being friends. Like it doesn't have to. It never. I don't force that next step if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. What about you, Stevie? What about energy? What kind of energy experiences have you had, and what is your personal energy?
Um, Now my personal energy is very relaxed and serene.
Mm.
It used to be more frantic.
Mm.
And I also used to feel like I had more of an obligation to extend my energy to others, which was problematic. So, like, if I went anywhere, I just felt like, that's just part of being out, that I have to be in this extroversion and this giving, and then it would be so exhausting. Now I have like energy budget, if you will, and I feel like I'm in permanent energy conservation because I want to maintain, like, I don't just, I mean, maybe I have resting bitch face. I don't think I do when I'm walking. But what Justin was saying, for me, is the opposite. I have pulled back my energy so that I can, like, just maintain it, and I don't share it unnecessarily. Yeah. I'm very, very conservative with who I extend myself to.
Yeah, I've met you in both different levels of energy that you're speaking of, and I am so drawn to your energy now. Like,
thank you.
Yes, I feel when I talk to you, I just want to look into your eyes and just mirror gaze and just be like, oh my god, I am beautiful. I feel beautiful.
I am so at peace. I am like balanced. And there's and the most important thing about my energy is I feel that it's like fortified in the sense that there's nothing in my life that is chaotic, so that it's going to throw me off my energy with something I don't have, input or control over.
Right.
Which was the case before. So like all these outside external things that could just impact me at any time. But now I'm like, I'm centered and I have that protected, so I can navigate more in a stable way.
Yeah. Multifacetedness, right? And being in your own lane and being able to like foster that. I feel like a lot of especially Black women don't know really how to cater to their energy in a way that they don't have to give it away, so they're not so frantic, so they come off as very like defensive and mean because they don't really have those healthy boundaries necessary to come off like peaceful, warm, and soft, like just be and be inviting. We also live in a world where Black women are always have to be in a fight mode, and so they're already like triggered and just ready to go. But that just speaks to why Black women need to heal more and why it's important for mental health. I know people, they have this stigma around mental health, but mental health and getting help has so many rewards associated with the fears around it. I think one of the things that I want to empower more Black women to do is be okay with being soft and see how long you can be soft for. And if you're always defensive or meeting people in a lot of like ready to go energy, that's a clear sign of a wounded warrior who is extremely tired and has been on a battlefield for too long. And sometimes being on a battlefield can be generational. I know for me, I was taught how to be a fighter. So I've always been like one of those women who are boss bitches. But now I feel the energy that I have is I'm a multifaceted person. So when I need to be a fighter, I can be a fighter. When I need to be a lover, I can be a lover. When I need to be, in a flight mode and ready to go, I can be in a flight mode and ready to go. But my natural baseline is to mind my business energy. Mm-hmm. Like, that's who I am. I be in my own lane, doing my own thing, but I'm also a very passionate person. And so I've learned how to balance the energy of being a passionate person versus having rage. Like, I think that I come from a long lineage of women who are very passionate, and that's where we get a lot of our feminine qualities from, is from being passionate women. But it's dangerous when you're not self-aware because you can also be in a rage and you can be temporarily hurt and you can really hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've learned how to balance. That is like, one of the things that I learned in my relationships is that I used to be in conversations with the men in my life, not to like, I would empower them, but as soon as you do something to me, I want to cut you with my words. Like, I'm about to beat you and I'll beat you down. And it's not in a loving, kind way. It's in like, because I'm a highly intuitive person and I can, understand a person like very deep, it would be the truth. but I would say it so mean. It would be intentionally mean. So you can't come back from a lot of the things that you say to some men. And I think over time, continuous times of being hurt by them, because men will stay with you and hate you just to get you back. And I think multiple times of being in those situations, it taught me that I'm bringing trauma to my own life because I don't have boundaries to when I'm passionate and when I have rage. And so one of the things I put on as a self boundary for myself is I can't hurt people. It's not okay. Under no circumstance is it okay to hurt people.
Listen, I want to talk about that because I used to feel like, you know, if you cross this, now it's turn up time.
Yeah.
There was no like, now I'm like, oh, you crossed that. Like, there are other ways to navigate that. But before, I'm just like, here's the line. If you cross it,
That was me.
it is, I am obligated to go 10.
Yeah.
Like,
because that's passion versus rage, right? Is us not having a boundary between I'm a passionate woman and so I can be all these things amazing, and then when you get to the certain level, I'm gonna rage. But that's because we didn't have good boundaries.
also the safety.
Yeah.
The safety piece is really important. If something's going down and you still feel safe, then you can talk about it. If something's going down and you feeling like you have to like fight or flight, then you can't
Yeah.
you can't be calm and get to the root of the issue and da da da. You're just like up in arms.
Yeah. I think a part of my rage was that I really didn't think that men had feelings. It's just crazy. It literally, and I'm a clinician. Like, it literally took me working with Black men on a professional, intimate level to realize that Black men have feelings. So yeah, I didn't know that Black men have feelings really until I started working with them intimately, professionally. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, sheesh. Like, I've been literally like not treating Black men like human. And I think that was part of my conditioning, honestly, with just the persona of a Black man. He's always been presented to me as a very strong-willed person, a hard worker, a tool, honestly, like a tool to gain access to resources and take care of me and have children with, but never as a person. And so I started to put up the person in front of the qualities that embody a Black man. What do you have to say about that, Justin?
I mean, it's crazy to even hear you say that, just because I just know how common that is.
Yeah.
And even when I'm speaking to people and just like when I tell people, yeah, I cry often, it's like they're so caught off guard by that. Like, what, you cry? Like, yeah, what the fuck? Like,
Well, I would be caught guard by that too, Justin, because you come off like a very like, yeah, nothing's touching me type person.
well, I'm programmed that way. I have to
Okay.
be that way.
Okay, so it's part of the program.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I have to. I mean, there's this perception of what a man is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So when you are internally feeling ways that men aren't supposed to feel, like you're raised that way, little boys shouldn't cry, like stop acting like a girl,
true.
that type of shit is like. When I'm alone, I'm finally able to release that.
Yeah.
But when I'm around people, I have to hold this guard up. Otherwise, I'm deemed as less than a man. If that makes sense.
I did that. I'll be honest with you. Like, I did that to my ex, and I think when I was asking for a vulnerability and he gave it to me, I was so shocked by it that it was a natural response and it wasn't supportive. And I think I've mentioned this on another show before. If I can, I don't have a lot of regrets. But if I can go back and I can change that one moment where I didn't show up for a Black man, I would change that one moment that I didn't show up for a Black man. So if that ex is watching this or anybody that knows him, tell him that I apologize. I really apologize for hurting him and not supporting him. But it wasn't from a space of like malicious intent. I just really didn't know. And it's okay. I think for some, for Black women who are looking at this, it's okay to be wrong and apologize. It really is okay, because sometimes we need to apologize for the people to the people that we hurt, and especially if they're a black man and they've been hurt by black women, because that's part of the separation that we have right now, is because nobody's humble enough to admit that they're wrong, and nobody's submissive enough to apologize. But you're never too good to apologize for somebody. I don't care who you are, how much money you got in the bank.
I think that's really, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think that's really important what you said, as far as it not being from like any type of ill intent, or it was there's a thin line, right? Because with the space I'm in now in life, I don't take much things personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's almost like, okay, I'm not gonna be offended by what you did or said to me, because I don't think you did it with the intent of pissing me off. If that makes sense. Like, okay, if you don't take me on a date, and I love going on dates, I don't think you're not taking me on dates just because you want to make me mad. I think it's just not in your frontal conscious to think of that,
right?
Because you're conditioned or used to being a certain way. Like, we all have habits, you know what I mean? And even when we're talking about our kids earlier, it's like everything is taught behavior from somewhere.
Yeah.
Everything, whether it's experience, whether it's exposure, whether it's whatever, like you learn how to be. I always laugh, like, kids are so honest, right?
Yeah.
And we teach them how to lie. Mm-hmm. And I try to be aware of that. Like, okay, if I don't answer my phone and then somebody in my family FaceTimes my son because they know he's with me, and he just watched me watch the phone ring, you know, it's like, I'm not gonna tell him
The person who did that is out of pocket, but
100%. But it's just little small things like that, and I'm real conscious of that. It's like, okay, don't be careful what you expose yourself to, the people around you, and all those things, because we pick up habits subconsciously, and we're not even aware of it until somebody points it out to us.
Right.
But then when they point it out, we take it as offense, because who are you to tell me how to be me?
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. So how can black women like show up for black men more emotionally to where they don't feel like they have to hide like crying or like just self-expressing, being a self-expressed person?
My biggest thing is just being understanding. And you have to be aware that once you get a man to open up to you, the moment you use that and weaponize it against him, you'll probably never get that version of him again. You might get a piece of that, like he might still be open with you, but it's never gonna be to the full extent, because he's
like
not,
never, like
no.
never, ever.
At least with me,
ever?
it won't.
Oh, okay.
It won't with me, for sure.
Do you don't think that there's room to grow in that, or is this just a wrap forever in life?
No, I mean, you have to. It's like almost if you cheat on me, you have to regain that trust, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost a part of, okay, we have to work to get to that point. But honestly, the point I'm at in my life, like, I don't have time to raise.
He said, "You ain't practicing on me."
Yeah, real shit though, because it's dangerous, right?
It is.
Imagine if I go back into that shell of not being able to clearly communicate my feelings, because it took me a long time to get to that point.
But what if the person like I did made a really like non like you don't sometimes you can't control your reaction if you ain't never been in a situation before.
100%, but it's not my job or duty to kind of teach you that either.
Oh, it's not. But
So again, I only feel like that because I get so consumed with the things and people around me because of my passion. So I'll lose myself in the midst of.
I totally get it.
So I'm gonna give you an example. If you ask me, if I leave here, right? Let's say I'm talking to a girl. She texts me, "Oh, how was your day?" I'm gonna send a long ass paragraph. Now, your response to my long ass paragraph will determine if I ever send you a long ass paragraph again.
Oh my God.
I'm just being honest.
Okay.
I can't help that.
Let me not. Okay. Steven?
No. Fuck that. You gotta explain why you reacted that way. We're not just gonna move on from that. Why? What's shocking about that?
I'm just letting you have your say so. I want to know what Stevie thinks.
No.
about that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to Stevie. Sorry, Stevie. But
Go ahead.
I really genuinely feel like that. But why do you think that's an issue? Because I feel like we do these things in our relationships with people that are so cliche. Don't ask me how my day was if you don't genuinely give a fuck.
Okay, so I'm just basing off me personally.
We all are.
How I am, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a texter. That's why I'm so happy Apple has voice text.
Okay, let's take it out of texting. Let's say I come home from work and you ask me, hey babe, how was work? And I start talking, and now I see you like drifting off. You're not really paying attention. It's like, well, damn, my nigga, did you ask because you really care, or did you ask because that's just what we're supposed to do when your spouse comes home from work?
I think it's every relationship. It takes time to learn a person and learn what's important to them. For me, sometimes I'll ask that question because I kind of just want a quick check in. Being a therapist, sometimes you don't your level of conversation varies because you explore so much with so many people. And your livelihood is conversation, so it could be me just checking in because I genuinely overall want to know how you doing, because I want to know like what food to cook for you, or like what level of care do you need from me, so I can kind of be there in that way. And sometimes it'll be I have space and room to have long conversations and then have that conversation with you. But like, I think it goes back to what you were saying about nothing you ever want to do with a person is malicious
Right.
in its intent. And then, sometimes you have to have space to learn someone and grow with someone. And then just knowing me, the type of person that I am, because I used to date like very limited when it comes to emotional intimacy, there's a lot of things that you would think like as a grown woman I would know, but I'm really immature in because I've never been or dated in those consciousness. So it could take a minute or a while for me to catch on to things that you're like, why don't you know these things? And it's really just because I'm just kind of like coming out of that shell.
And okay, I think I might have worded it wrong because I agree with you.
Okay.
But at the same time, in my position, in the midst of you learning that or learning me, let's say, I can't help but grow resentment. So okay, let's take for example the last person I dated, right? It would be a thing to where it's like the nonchalant attitude that you have is not gonna work with me, and I know that because I'm the complete opposite. Now I don't hate you, we're cool, but I'm not even gonna let us continue to talk because I don't want you to change who you are as a person. I'd rather wait until I find somebody that's more on the same page as
Naturally.
me. Yeah.
So first of all,
I'm not saying it like I hate to keep cutting you guys off and hogging the mic, but I'm not saying like you have to be this way and I'm right and you're wrong. What I'm saying is, in order for me to feel appreciated, feel all these things in my partner, I know what I need, and I don't want to.
I'm laughing because I want to give a shout out to Herbalife Tea because this guy Justin is turned up. He was so tired before this. His energy was not there.
I love these conversations though, because for one, it makes me think.
I love the passion.
And then I think life is just about perspectives, right? I have my two windows that I'm looking at shit through, and I don't feel like I'm right, but I just know what I want and what I desire. And I know there's people out there that feel the same way.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And I think a lot of men feel that way. And I think that what you're providing us is that perspective on how temperamental men can be about being emotionally intimate with a woman, and how women could kind of be oblivious to that and then even do things to separate themselves even more from a man trusting him. So I mean, I appreciate the perspective too. I really want to know what Stevie thinks, because Stevie is an intimate person too. So I want to know what are your thoughts about just what Justin was saying, as far as like if he's opening up to you in that way, you're not giving the same energy, then that's like,
I understand that.
It's not because I'm gonna bring it to your attention, and at that point, you do with that information what you see fit.
Oh, okay. So you just plotting and planning?
No, it's just like, hey, look. Again, with the girl, it's like, look. I feel like when we're conversing about stuff, there's just not like. It's like it's almost I can see my words going in one ear and out the other.
Okay.
Which is fine because I don't feel like I might not be interesting to you.
Okay.
But I know I'm going to be pissed off every time I'm talking to you and I see the words going in one ear and out the other.
I definitely understand that.
Okay.
And thank you for clarifying that it's not necessarily texting. But, I mean, I used to date someone, and they had a kind of a hectic schedule, and they would, call sometime to check in. I'd be excited. I'm like, oh, I have all these things to share with you.
Yeah.
And I would get really frustrated because then you'd be like, oh, I have like 5 minutes or something. And I said, like, I got to the point where at the beginning of the conversation, I'm like, do you actually have time to talk, or like are you just 5 minute check in so I can meter my expectations for the conversations so I won't be disappointed, you know?
Yes.
So I think that makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
This conversation is so good. I wish I didn't have to end it right here. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this because I have a crazy baby grandma.
Baby mama.
She's, I'm not trying to have no
Emo.
beef today. You know how it is, Jesse. You want to keep the peace. And so we are going to come back to this episode, guys. This has been really amazing. I'm going to keep pulling Justin back. Miss Exclusive from behind the camera and continue to, you know, open up the door for Stevie to come and share her knowledge and her spiritual wisdom and her beautiful eyes. And then we can continue on this level of conversation, but continue the conversation with a loved one. Like, choose a black man in your life that you value, sit him down and talk to him. Okay, we'll get to know him a little bit more, affirm him, value him, and give him space to be intimately with you. And this is a caveat: don't want nothing from him in return. Cook him dinner and rub that black man's feet. Okay,
Hold on.
do it.
Wait a minute.
Do it, Stevie. We just going to treat black men
Like kings.
like kings. Like, let's just give them we can
But see, don't rub my feet because I'm hella ticklish.
do something nice for
I'm
them.
joking, I'm joking.
I think that black women and black men need to touch each other more outside of sex. So I'm always going to promote touch in that safe way. So like I said, cook him, sit a
I
black
don't
man
know. I
down,
don't know, Nia.
cook him dinner.
This seems a little bit jumping the gun.
And give him a massage to rub his feet. And we can talk about this more too, because I think part of the disconnect between black men and black women is that we don't feel like we should do things like this.
In when appropriate, like I think that just needs some caveat. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's relative.
With the level of conversation that this is going to have, it's going to open him up. And touch is another way to take it to that level of like, wow, I told you, we're not talking about having sex. So don't go there if you don't want to. I would actually say hold off on that so that you can open up more doors for different experiences that doesn't lead to sex, because sex is very it's the end game to a long process that we don't have the patience to explore.
Yes, but also rubbing feet is extremely intimate, as well as holding hands sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there still should be, caveat around just, we exploring today just should be more intimate relationship that's already existing.
Well, I said a black man that you care about. I specifically said that. So we definitely are putting a caveat about the exclusiveness of this black man. Okay, he has to be worthy of it. It just can't be your friend that you work with at work and you
you want a foot massage today?
Yeah, no, we not.
You want to connect over a foot massage?
Thank you for the people who don't get
just
that.
To clarify,
I am talking about. Listen. A black man that you feel is valuable and worthy of that type of treatment, and on top of that, you feel is safe enough to do that with without it leading to some type of sexual intimacy. We're just literally talking about being nice and caring. That's it, okay? Treat like you work at a hospital and you're a foot doctor, okay? How about that? So you'll be the shelf and a foot doctor. Keep it professional. So that's going to be another episode of Black Exploration.
We definitely need a part 2.
We're going to do a part 2 of that. But like I said, do something kind for a black man. You can take my advice or leave it. Drop in the comments what you thought about this show and this episode. DM us if you want to be a part of the show. And don't forget to like this show, comment, share it, and shout out to SJ10. Go follow them on their all social media platforms. And we'll see you next time. Peace.